Legend Total War here, and today we're doing a rating your Doomstack video covering Grombrindle with a flamethrower Doomstack. So we've got 7 units of Iron Drakes, 5 units of Flame Cannons. They're heavily boosted because Stains increase the amount of ammunition by an absolute ton on Iron Drakes, and Grombrindle increases the ammunition on Iron Drakes and on Flame Cannons here, so we're getting a lot of value out of that. You also use the Thanes for holding the front line, although in Warhammer 3 the AI does have a very high tendency of just pushing straight through them unless those heroes are considered super high value, sort of like what we saw with Satang. They would actually clump around him. Now, main thing here, I think the biggest weakness that this army has is its low range with the small arm fires. The artillery's fine, right? But the small arm fires range is only 84. Now, there are units in here that are insanely dangerous against them, especially your Sharp D Great Bows, which have 255 range. And this unit here, because of their like ballista type shots, they absolutely obliterate Iron Drakes. So going up against this isn't really to their strength. Even though you'd think, oh, flame damage, that's great against Tomb Kings. Most of these units don't actually have any flame weakness. And the tactics on the battlefield, like who has the range advantage, is more important than flame weakness. So if you wanted to use this sort of army here, it's definitely a specialized army. It's just not going to be a one-size-fits-all. And it would be much better against dealing with like choke point battles. Like you want to stay in the underway stance because you'll be able to prevent yourself from being flanked too heavily. And also go up against enemies like greenskins that tend not to have that much of the like super long range missiles. Anyway, let's just jump in here and see what we can do, because I feel like this will be a little bit of a disaster battle as well. I did see that there was a banner I didn't use. I don't think it's going to make any difference. You know, this is not the sort of army that needs movement speed on one unit. Okay, so there's an enemy army coming in from the flank here. Now, normally with Doomstack ratings, I don't go and attack that, but however, I don't have a lot of confidence in this one here because of the enemy that we're going up against. I think if we don't make use of this situation here, we're being very stupid. So I'm going to put my units over here to bomb them and obliterate them as they're coming in, especially considering they've got such a huge range advantage on this army here. Like all the Sharp D Great Bros, the Bone Giants, that's all stuff that we just can't deal with. The Flame Cannons can't be expected to deal with that kind of stuff. This is kind of an anti-infantry weapon, so dealing with other pieces of artillery in single entity is not their forte. That is one thing that we don't really have much of in this army here, is single entity killers, especially long-range single entities. So let's deprive them of their advantage by doing that, because these guys here will probably just sit there. We'll still need to deal with them, but what we want to do is get in nice close range as quickly as we can. Now we probably also want to stagger these units out a little bit, because they're probably, even though we're going to hold them back here, they're probably still going to find a way to get through. Because yeah, the enemy in Warhammer 3, this is on maximum difficulty, they just don't care about Thanes as line holders anymore. They're not going to sit there and fight. They're going to run straight through. That's from my experience with it all anyway. Important that we stagger our guys out here. Because I think they just recognize that they actually can't win against the Thanes, but they see these really vulnerable Iron Drakes and they go, yeah, let's go after them instead. So I do feel like this guy has put in maximum effort into this army for sure. I'm just not sure if this army is actually all that good to be going up against a lot of force. Like, we basically should always be using Lightning Strike, or should be in the underway stance, where we can just handle choke point battles after choke point battles. Being in this field here, not to our advantage. This isn't going to be a 10 out of 10 Doomstack, there's no way. Let's just see what it can do. Alright, we're pretty much ready for you now. And we bring Burning Hell upon them. And you can see here, are they trying to... Yeah, damage output's great, but keeping them pinned down, that's exactly what we want to see. Okay, what we don't have pinned down is that Bone Giant. Oh, very nice, very nice. Yeah, if you could do this, this is what it's meant for. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Okay, you gotta put a stop to that. Very nice. Now, these guys will be coming in pretty soon because they'll be pissed off about this, for sure. We're already taking a fair bit of damage. Yeah, you can see here, this one's been going at this for a while, and it did beat the Bone Giant, but the problem is our army has such low health that they still ended up doing a decent amount of damage. But yeah, doing this worked out really well. It'd be stupid not to do this. This is what this army is meant to be doing. It's like the anti-blob Doomstack. Good, yeah, because skeleton archers, they outrange us, but not when they come in already within range. They're just like, well, shit. Alright, so we took a fair bit of damage on the flame cannons. However, they traded really well in that fight. Really, really well. Okay. Now let's get ready for the next wave of attacks. But the ones that took the most damage in the rear. Try and spread out damage as much as possible. We didn't lose any Iron Drakes, although this one here took some damage. So yeah, in that particular scenario, fantastic. But it's cheese! Yeah. But the problem is, this is what the army is supposed to be used for. Not doing that is... You might as well just not even bring this army then. This is not the kind of army be like, oh, look, I made an Iron Drake Doomstack. Let's see how good it is in melee. No, that's not... it's not going to work that well. We have to close the range in really quickly. This would also be really good for sieges, walled city sieges. Actually, and minor settlement sieges as well. Because, yeah, these guys here, they do so much damage so quickly, but they also die really quickly as well. I'm actually surprised they didn't advance. This is on the hardest battle difficulty, we can prove that. Difficulty modifier 8. Yep. This one was on Lightning Strike. Okay. He's got Iron Warden Tankins on all these guys. Oh, I see. He's got one of them with... Not the... What's it called? The Iron Drake skill instead with the Guardian skill, so giving them all 15% physical resistance. I would say in this situation here, probably wasn't needed. Because most of the time, you're probably going to keep these fairly spread out. It's just one of those cases where you've gotten a buff for the sake of getting a buff, but it's not actually really a buff. Because the thing is, having loads of ammunition on the unit and not using it, what that does is preserve balance of power. And it'll make them better in auto-resolve. Because the auto-resolve kind of assumes that you're going to use up all your ammo, which is kind of ridiculous when you've got ammo that takes, you know, half an hour to get rid of all of it. But it just looks at numbers and goes, oh yeah, big number equal win. And that's another reason why I guess the auto-resolver isn't so favorable for Iron Drakes, is because their health and entity number is relatively low. Which is why other Dwarfen units perform so well in auto-resolve. Yeah, so all of this stuff over here are going to be super dangerous for us. But I think because we cheesed that first fight, let's send these guys up and I'll show you just how rough it's going to be with them. Honestly, I reckon we can win against this army here with just the heroes, because we're pretty close to inflicting the army losses. But like I said, this is not a disaster battle, so we need to showcase the strengths and the weaknesses of this Doomstack here. So I'm actually not going to rely on my heroes, and I'm going to rely on the actual units. But what we should technically be doing at this point here is wasting their ammunition. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. Alright, you guys all on guard mode. Okay, let's do this. It's good we're drawing them in. We've also got these guys coming in over this way. I reckon we're very close to army losses though. So yeah, like I said, flame cannons, good units, not great against single entities though. And that's what you really need here, you just don't have anything that's going to kill single entities. Honestly, I think you might even be better off with just Grand Cannons, just because of the longer range. You've just got too much flame here. Too much anti-infantry. Very lopsided strength. So if you were going up against another dwarf faction, yeah, this would be great. But, you know, you're going up against something with a lot of single entity monsters. And yeah, you can see we're kind of wasting ammo there. It's just not doing much. Send the single entities to go deal with that, especially Grombrindle, because he's anti-large. Wait, no, it's not. Fairly sure he used to be. And look at this, the Screaming Skull Catapult's bloody obliterating us there, and it's outranging us, so we need to get in there. You just get back, or else you're just going to get obliterated. And this is why I usually don't bring in flame cannons in my armies, because I very heavily value just overall range, because like an inferior artillery piece is absolutely hammering our flame cannon here. But, you know, no matter which way you go, your units are going to have a weakness some way or another. There's no unit in the game that has no weaknesses. Well, except for single entity duelers. Literally the only thing that can beat them is another single entity dueler. Bring these guys up. Okay, get ready down here, because I think it's going to be a problem soon. Get back over there. The artillery, they're aiming at a different one now. Yeah, if you can manage to get them pinned down, the Iron Drakes do so much damage. They're great for that. But the problem is, units like artillery and Ushabti great bows absolutely fuck them. So, a lot of strength, but also a lot of weakness. Alright, start turning around over here, because we need to deal with all this shit soon. Not so bad with these skeleton archers, because their damage output's friggin' nothing. Need to get over here. The clans unite! Okay, let's get someone over there. Although if you just send one single entity small character, they usually just keep firing. Okay, start drawing them back over here slowly. Okay, you move up. I need to get rid of that Screaming Skull Catapult. Move back a bit. We've also got this, which we could use. The fact that we've got the low ground here doesn't really matter too much. That's it, just draw them back little bit by little bit. And I was about to say, where's that army losses? Now, in the sake of transparency, I'll let you guys know that I've actually fought this battle a couple of times before doing this recording to test out what would happen if I did certain things. So I tested out what would happen if I deployed over here to begin with and just tried to annihilate the first army and then deal with the reinforcing army. And basically, able to win, but all of the Iron Drakes and all of the Flame Cannons got absolutely fucked by the reinforcing army because the Thanes couldn't hold the enemy back. I was sending them into them, but they just ran straight past it because they got faster units and absolutely obliterated them. Doing it this way is the correct way to use this army. And doing it any other way makes no sense at all. So, this is definitely a great Doomstack in certain situations if you use it correctly, but it does have a high chance of failure if you make the wrong decision. But yeah, if you don't go and target their reinforcements when they're coming in, that's a huge mistake. Because you just got such a great opportunity to get them into a blob and burn them. Because yeah, look at the kills that the Iron Drakes got. Very quickly as well. We barely even used up a quarter of our ammo. So yeah, you want to avoid situations where you're dealing with long-range artillery. Like if the enemy have great cannons, like if you're going up against the Empire, or if you're going up against the High Elves and they've got, you know, Eager Claw bolt throwers. You're going up against Dark Elves. It's not going to be good against Dark Elves because they got a lot of long-range missile units and units that can stalk. You don't want to be going up against any single entity monsters. So again, rules out Dark Elves and High Elves. This would be pretty good against Greenskins, even though they do have single entity monsters for sure. Those single entity monsters are kind of slow and big, so the Iron Drakes would actually be pretty good against them, and they really lack a lot of missile units. Although they could get Doom Diver catapults, those aren't as common as what you might see in a Tomb King army with like the Screaming Skull catapults. So this is a good army for sure. Very situational. You just can't use it against everything, and if you do go up against something, you better make sure you bring your Lightning Strike or go into encamp stance. Sorry, not encamp stance, underway stance, because this will perform much better in the underway due to being able to hold a choke point. If you're surrounded, you're fucked. You really want to make sure you're controlling where they're coming from, and that's why when I fought the battle from the other location, not cheesing it, it went so badly. Still won the battle, but just these units here got obliterated. The difference between doing it what I did in this one here, as opposed to not cheesing it, it's night and day. So you just can't be using it that way. Okay, in terms of rating this Doomstack, it definitely feels like it's what Grombrindle should be doing. If we have a look at his skill tree here, with Rousey Engineers, ammunition for Iron Drakes and War Machine units, but I feel that you could just use Great Cannons and that'll cover your single entity weakness, and that'll give you a lot longer range. So I think that would have actually been a better choice. But I think what he tried to do here is just go full on with the flames. But I think that was actually a bad choice. Extra speed for the army, and that's not super important. Actually, Grombrindle's actually got a really good opportunity for a good auto-resolve Doomstack if you give him like Dwarf Warriors or melee infantry because of this one here. When he gets attacked, they all get more melee defense and armor-piercing weapon strength, which the AI doesn't predict is going to happen, because they see you get a certain amount of stats that go in, because they can predict what the auto-resolve is roughly going to be, and then they go in for the attack, and then suddenly it shifts out of their favor. So he's kind of got like an ambush auto-resolve defense army. Grombrindle is very useful. If we have a look at the Thanes here, so Ironbeard, ammunition plus 50% for Iron Drakes, Iron Breakers, and Miners unit. So you definitely could put Iron Breakers in the army, and they would also get a ton of extra ammunition, although they tend not to have a great amount of opportunity to use that much ammo. But Iron Drakes would be good front line for sure. However, these guys here are supposed to be the front line. So it's entirely up to you how you want to go about it. I wonder if maybe going Iron Drake, Trollhammer, Torpedo would be good, because that would be good for single entities. However, the single entity long range units like Bone Giants, we're not going to get in range of those. So that's something to consider as well. So overall, I think he's done a good job in building this army. You just have to be very careful in what you use it against. It's not going to be the kind of army that you can just go up against anything, which is really what Doomstacks are supposed to be. You build the army, and then you just don't worry about what you go up against. You can just win every single time. And that's not what this army is. So in terms of overall strength, it did well in this battle here because I knew what I was doing, but I'd have to give it something along the lines of 8 because it's got a weakness to range advantage, which is what we went up against here, but I sort of nullified them. And you're just not going to be able to do that in every single situation. In terms of ease of use, probably like a 7. It's not super easy to use. It depends on the situation. If you find yourself getting attacked from 3 sides, you'll find that this is an annoying army to use for sure. And convenience is actually fairly convenient to recruit this, because the Iron Drakes themselves, they're very low tier now. If we go and have a look at a settlement, Iron Drakes are recruited at what, tier 3? Where are they? Yeah, tier 3 here. And that's a building that you definitely want to get. But the flame cannons are tier 4. So I personally would switch out the flame cannons for regular cannons. That extra range and single entity damage and accuracy would be much more viable, because the thing is with the flame cannons is that their shots are they're like semi-mortars, which means that the shot takes a little while to reach the target. If you're aiming at a single entity, they'll just move out of the way. But cannon fire, because the projectile moves really quickly, even if they're trying to dodge it, chances are they're not going to dodge it. So I think that would cover your bases there, because this army here is just too heavily anti-infantry, and they just don't have enough strength against long-range single entities. And I just think that because these guys here aren't boosting the flame cannons, you should just get rid of these and go with regular great cannons. You just get much better results. It'd make the army more versatile, in my opinion. So overall, I'm going to give this a rating of 7 out of 10, but it really depends on how you use it. In some situations, it'll be a 10 out of 10. In some situations, it just won't be able to cope whatsoever. Anyway, appreciate this guy sending this one in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It's the end of this one, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys. I appreciate you.